Welcome to CBSSports.com Fantasy Basketball Planner. I'm Amber Wilson, and joining me is senior fantasy writer Jamie Eisenberg. So, Jamie, starting out with Dwayne Wade, he's expected back this week, so he's relevant again for fantasy owners.
Oh, he's certainly relevant, Amber. I mean, this is what fantasy owners have been waiting for. Everybody drafted him probably to the middle of the end of the first round of their fantasy drafts, hoping he would be back by the end of November. And here he is in the second week of November. He's already back on the court. So that's a great thing for those owners who took a chance on him, expecting him to carry them this season. He's a 20-point scorer, going to give you assists, rebounds, steals. He does it all, and the Miami Heat certainly need him as we see with their poor start. So he's going to really impact all of the Heat players around him. Shaquille O'Neal, Udonis Haslem, Ricky Davis, all those guys will continue to play better with Dwayne on the court. And it's a great week to use him because they have 4 games this week, and they're 4 really good matchups as well.
Right. You mentioned Dwayne Wade has 4 games this week. The Heat are one of 15 teams this week who have 4 games. Of course, the more games equal the more points in fantasy basketball. So a team that won't be that useful to fantasy owners point-wise, the Milwaukee Bucks. They only have 2 games this week. That's why you have quite a few Bucks on your sit list for your stardom sit-em. So starting out with sit centers, you have Andrew Bogut, there's your Buck, and Amari Stoudemire and Samuel Dalembert.
Yeah, I think, Bogut obviously was the 2 games, and he got off to a little bit of a shaky start. But Amari Stoudemire is the most interesting player on the list of sit centers. He obviously was drafted as a #1 option. You really don't have you can't afford to sit a guy like Amari Stoudemire, except for the fact that he's been banged up a little bit, slowed, in his previous week. So I think you're looking at him as, if you have to use him, obviously you want to trot him out there, but I think if you have a better option, just because of the injury situation, hopefully he gets back on the court before you have to set your lineup for this coming week. But if he's not, I think it's just a little bit of a safer option. Plus, the Suns have a little bit of a difficult schedule this week with only 3 games. So, an interesting proposition with Amari.
All right, moving on to your start centers this week. Brendan Haywood, Chris Kaman, and LaMarcus Aldridge.
Amber, I don't think anyone's playing better than Chris Kaman right now in terms of the center position. There are some guys that were drafted ahead of him. Chris Kaman could be the steal of fantasy drafts this year. He's averaging a double-double, putting up monster games, 20-point rebound games. He's averaging almost, 15-plus points. Really filling the void without Elton Brand there for the Clippers. So the Clippers got off to a great start. Coutinho Mobley's had a big game. Sam Cassell's had a big game. Corey Maggetti's been great. But Chris Kaman's really been the surprise player for that team and the surprise player for a lot of fantasy owners. So you definitely want to get him in your lineup.
All right, and your start forwards this week, Peja Stojakovic, Hedo Turkoglu, and Tayshaun Prince.
Yeah, those aren't easy names to say
Stojakovic.
at all right there. Peja Stojakovic is another guy who was sort of questionable how he was going to do coming into the season. Got off to a great start. He's hitting 3-pointers again, really making an influence on that New Orleans team. So I think it's a really good opportunity for you that were hesitant to put him in your lineup to start the season. Get him in there now. He's going to have a couple games where he'll have some setbacks, but he's still a great option, especially in leagues where you're counting 3-pointers, those rotisserie leagues where 3-pointers count on a little different scale. And then in terms of, Hedo Turkoglu, great player right now, the way he's gotten off to his start, playing both forward spots for the Magic and really feeding off Dwight Howard.
Okay, and your sit forwards, you got your Buck, Yee, and then my favorite name to say, Kalina Azubuike and John Salmons.
Yeah, Salmons and Azubuike are the 2 interesting players in this mix because both guys have been benefiting without the expected starters for those teams. When you're looking at Azubuike, Steven Jackson going to come back this week from his suspension, and then John Salmons, great start for the Kings, but Ron Artest also comes back from his suspension. So both those guys are going to take a step back. They may still be starters. They may still get plenty of minutes, but they're not going to put up the same type of production with those other 2 players in there. Okay,
and your start guards this week, Mike Dunleavy, Damian Wilkins, and Ronnie Brewer.
Yeah, Ronnie Brewer to me has been just such a huge surprise. That Utah team is really clicking. The one hole that they had this year, though, was at the shooting guard spot, and Ronnie Brewer, a nice young player in his second year, really emerging right now and playing great. He's averaging a good point total, producing in some different categories, playing off Carlos Boozer and Darren Williams very well. So he's a great player right now and certainly somebody worth putting in your lineup this week.
And your sit guards, Larry Hughes, Raja Bell, and then another Buck, Mo Williams.
Yeah, Mo Williams, even without the prospect of facing only 2 games, got off to a slow start. A guy who's got a big contract this season. Everybody was concerned, will he take the step to that next level, be the elite point guard? Right now, he hasn't really been getting it done. The Bucks are a decent team when everybody's healthy, with Bogut, with Yee, with Charlie Villanueva, obviously Michael Redd being the big guy there. But Mo Williams is supposed to be that producer of assists, points, get you some rebounds, just not getting it done right now. So I think maybe you want to go in a different direction, even when they have some more games until he starts to prove it.
All right, thanks for all your fantasy hoops advice, Jamie. That'll do it for us for now. Keep your mouth at CBSSports.com for everything you need to know in the world of sports, especially fantasy sports. If you missed anything here today, stop, refresh, and rewatch. For Jamie Eisenberg, I'm Amber Wilson. Good luck with your lineups.